All right, Spencer, you live in Utah. We were just referencing that with the whole Southern Utah fun thing. But look, here's the deal. I don't like that this BYU game is not in November once again. I guess we can talk about why the logic is in a moment, but I just feel like I think it's the best rivalry in the Big 12. Am I biased? Yeah, you can see all the Utah stuff in the background, but I do think this rivalry deserves to be played on Rivalry Weekend. I think it would be an awesome nightcap, like that late night Big 12, old Pac-12, rest in peace Pac-12 that we love. Like that's what this rivalry has the potential to be. And I think just throwing it in the middle of October, and they even moved it up. Like it was later last year, they moved it up. I don't like it. How do you look at it?
Well, the Big 12, for some reason, has an aversion to embracing Rivalry Weekend. I don't quite understand what that is. You may be getting into the race car game a little bit later than everyone else, but why are you still not putting a car out on the track? You might not have the driver or the pit crew yet to go and win the race, but you're never going to catch the cars in front of you if you don't enter the race. And yeah, BYU Utah is the best rivalry in the Big 12. And sure, it'll be really fun no matter when it is played. It could be a week 0 game for all anybody cares, and you're going to sell out either stadium, and it's going to be hostile and chippy, and then one athletic director is going to want to leave the conference. Just completely normal things that happen over the course of a rivalry game. It's just the way emotions boil over. And I don't quite get what the thinking is. I suppose, a rivalry draws more viewers. So if we have it when everyone else doesn't have them, then you have an advantage there. But the game is played October 18th. Correct me if I am wrong, JT. I believe that's third Saturday in October, Alabama, Tennessee, right?
You're 1,000% correct, sir.
So I just look at what the Big 12 has done here, and I don't like it. I don't like, yes, I'm going to enjoy the game and everything that comes with it on and off the field, no matter when it is played. But there is a build to Rivalry Week. The stakes get put even higher, not just to have a conference game that moves you up or down in the standings, but to know what your postseason standing is. Are you playing this game to get bowl eligible then and there? That can add spice to a rivalry game. Or are you playing this game to make the Big 12 championship game? That can add to a rivalry game. Those sorts of things, if you have the opportunity to maximize the climb to what the stakes of the game are, you put it the last week of the regular season. There is a reason the Iron Bowl and the game are played in the last week of the regular season. It's because how do we maximize the stakes? You put it right there so that a team is one game away from getting here or getting there. And maybe both teams go into it, at 8-3, and they're not going to make a conference championship game, and the stakes are still great. But this is absolutely a rivalry that is top 10 in all of college football, maybe even top 5 for me in terms of matchups I most want to watch. And it belongs in that upper pantheon of great college football rivalries, which are played last week of the regular season. There are other great ones that get played third Saturday in October, Florida, Georgia. Like, you can keep going down the list, but this is one to me that comes off as a fumble to put in that particular spot.
We 1,000% agree. I mean, even like you have a great sign in your background, my friend, College Gameday.
Thank you.
That's the one thing that I think about. I'm like, okay, if it's not Rivalry Weekend, you have a better chance of College Gameday. But the first thing I would say to whoever brought that up in the meeting, like, oh, if we put it here, is what are the odds that Alabama, Tennessee won't be a top 20 matchup? And look at how heavy we saw Game Day go on the SEC a year ago. Do we really think they're going to miss that? I mean, one of those teams has to be so bad, and I don't see that with the talent. Like, I know people are a little frustrated with Kalen DeBoer, like, but I still think it's still Alabama, it's still Tennessee. So that's where it just feels like a
Well, I don't think either team's schedule is going to put them in a position for it to not be a premier College Game Day consideration. Because Bama is going to be fine. DeBoer is going to be fine. He's got Ryan Grubb back as his offensive coordinator. They will be just fine. But Tennessee on the other side was just in the college football playoff, and they also have, I think, a pretty favorable start to their season. Their big non-conference game is Syracuse, and I think Q's had a great season last year. They're not going to be as good because Kyle McCord won't be there. So the Vols could very well be unbeaten or one loss. Bama will be unbeaten or one loss. And frankly, you would have to have 4 combined losses between those teams for it to not be a game day consideration that would be a notch above BYU Utah. So you not only, I guess I do kind of understand the thinking from the Big 12 of, hey, let's take this rivalry game and put it, in non-rivalry week to highlight it. But you're concerned on the one hand about going up against big-time rivalries that with bigger brands and whatnot, and then you're just going to go toe-to-toe. You put it on the same Saturday as Alabama, Tennessee? What are you doing?
Exactly.
That defeats the whole purpose. At least put it on a Saturday where there isn't a legitimate named rivalry that people pick up on, that you're going to have ESPN go to for game day to highlight your conference in that matchup. So, yeah, I think when you put that factor into it, I think it's an even bigger fumble.
It is. I mean, Spencer, correct me if I'm wrong. Like, I'm just trying to, obviously, the game. That's going to be noon, big noon kickoff. We know that whole controversy that's been a thing with Ohio State, Michigan. But then that night, it will be the Iron Bowl. That's what ESPN will market it as. They'll put the Iron Bowl at that time. And there's maybe another rivalry I'm forgetting. But what would be this would be the perfect late night, final round. Let the Big 12 have their moment. This is when the Pac-12 used to have their moment, that late night, 10:30 time slot or wherever. I mean, wherever it is, just like this.
Well, the branding of Pac-12 After Dark was simultaneously great and a contributor, not a primary, but a contributor to the downfall of the conference, because not as many people watch when it's on later at night, but there's also a lot of value because there's still a lot of people watching and no one else can provide that time slot. And so that's something that, when the Pac-12 originally, and now again with their ongoing media rights negotiations with the new look conference, when they go to television executives, there's no other option. There is no power conference that can provide college football games worth viewing late at night. There just isn't. That's part of the reason the Big 12 wanted to get BYU and Utah and the Arizona schools, is so that they could have a stronger presence in the Mountain Time Zone, and Colorado too. So that value is very real, but also a geographic reality that's a drawback on the other hand, because you limit the upside of viewership that you can have.
You're right. That's the unfortunate.
And by the way, Alabama's schedule starts like this leading up to Tennessee. At Florida State, that should be a win. Louisiana Monroe, Wisconsin at home, at Georgia, that's tough. Host Vandy, at Missouri. That's 2 losses maximum. Tennessee goes Syracuse in Atlanta. That'll be a win. East Tennessee, host Georgia. Frankly, I think that's a toss-up game. But even if they lose that, it's then UAB at Mississippi State hosting Arkansas. Again, worst case scenario, 2 losses. So I just don't see it. And even if they have 2 losses at that point, they'll still be ranked. That'll be enough. And it's a brand matchup. That crimson cursive A, the iconic orange T, they're not going to pass that up.
No, I mean, that's what it's February 4th. And we're basically confirming that Utah BYU won't be College Game Day. And that right there is the biggest miss in this, I think, from me. I know a lot of people are frustrated with certain things about the schedule, and as you said, there's a lot of rivalries that people aren't happy. So massive miss there. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Spencer, always appreciate you stopping by and making the time. You're the man. Make sure you guys head over and check out Locked On College Football. It does Locked On Ducks too, so a little bit of everything over there as well. Spencer, you're the man. Thanks for coming and hang out.
Anytime, JT. Appreciate it.
Thank you again for making Locked On Utes your first listen and view of the day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network and hope you'll rejoin us tomorrow.